Hi, Kaylee. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine, and I'm excited too as well. So today we're gonna be talking about like how to set goals and like for personal and professional ones. So goal setting is like one of the thing like we often set for goals, and then obviously some kind of like we get distracted or we don't like take any action to it. So I'd love to know more about yourself. How do you set your goals and how do you execute it or when things doesn't pan out like how you want it? So before that, I'd love to know more about yourself, your background, like how did you came out along with like a business world and entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So I was I was in one company for about 11 years, kind of building my own 1099 business. And then COVID, which I'm sure so many stories
Yeah.
go. So I transitioned into coaching since I had 11 years of, it wasn't called coaching, but I had this team with me and I brought them along in recruiting and sales and all those pieces that it made sense for the next step. So I was in the coaching realm for the past 2.5 years and um, really found that my niche with that the thing that I love, my husband and I are a team in this, is goal setting and setting up that vision. And really that's how we have done everything in our life. We got married really young, so I was only 20 and he was 21, 22.
Right.
And we didn't have the solid plan. We didn't know exactly how everything was going to work, but we knew that this was the right timing for us. And so we sat down 6 months into marriage and said, we don't have any money. This is not okay. And we're like, how, we have this idea of what we want our life to look like. What are we doing right now to move ourselves towards that? What steps are we going to take and how are we going to set that up? So we went to a garage sale. We bought a whiteboard and we stuck it in our living room, and it is still there to this day. And we change it every single month. What's our long-term vision? That's one section of the whiteboard. What are we after this year? What are the 2023 goals? And then what's got to happen this month? And so every single month we sit down and we have this meeting from 6 months into our marriage. So we've been married 10 and a half years now. We've been doing this for 10 years.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and that enabled us to pay off. We paid off $44,000 in student loans in 26 months. We adopted our son from Colombia completely debt free. We bought our home. Just last year, we completed the Spartan Trifecta races, which is an obstacle course race, for endurance and strength and all that. But none of that would have been possible without us sitting down and making that plan. So that's kind of where I come from and the things that we've achieved through that. And that's what I don't believe there's a one size fits all as far as how you do your goals. It's a matter of doing them and having the accountability around them. And so in that 10 years, we've adjusted things, we've shifted, we've made changes. And that's really this is what we've landed on. And there's ways that you can adjust that for each person. But the biggest piece is, what's your plan? What's your vision for your life? Are you working towards it every single day? Or are you just kind of, flying by the seat of your pants? So that's kind of where I come from.
That's interesting. So you guys executed on yourself last 10 years, you guys doing that and like you've seen the success and you've seen the results. So right now, like you're helping others like you do the same thing. Like, so how do someone like create such a kind of like a goals and they can actually achieve them? And so do you have like any kind of formula or steps in order to like set create goals? Because there is so many ways you can create goals. There is like probably you only making $2,000 a month right now and you trying to be a billionaire by next 5 years. Could be possible. There is so many ways, but that's not realistic. Like probably one in every billion people like are probably gonna do that. But in the same way, like you have to be have like some kind of realistic goals and things like that, and go about like executing the process. Do you enjoy the process or day-to-day activity in order to get to where you want to be? So how do you set your goals compared to like before you haven't got any goals?
Yeah, well, to go to your question of how to help other people, I do have a course. I have a 7-week course that I've put out that I'm helping coach. I'm an executive coach with this niche and goal setting now. Some of the biggest hiccups I see with people are not having the vision first. Okay, so maybe in 5 years you want to have this, billion-dollar company, or you want to be a billionaire. That's fantastic. What next? Like, is 5 years really the limit of your vision? How old are you going to be in 5 years? What does that look like? Maybe you achieve that. Maybe you have this billion-dollar company. But in the process of getting there, did you get divorced? Do you have no relationship with your kids? Are you completely isolated? Are you 200 pounds overweight? Did you neglect everything else in order to reach that one thing? And in which case, were your goals in line with what your vision was or not? Is that what you thought that would look like? So it's really coming back to what is that big vision? And I know that's hard for so many people to kind of go 5-10 years out, but I find the best step with that is just going, okay, first off, what year is that and how old will I be? And then the next one that hits people real hard is how old will your kids be?
Yeah.
And that's when people go, oof, oh, they'll be done with college. Like I didn't realize that, or they'll be driving, or, okay, great. Now what's a Tuesday look like that year? Like
Mm.
what does just a normal day look like? And then, and just build off of that. Who's in your life? Who are you friends with? What does your community look like? What do you want to be doing for business or for a job? Or, what's making money? What do your investments look like? Is your dog still alive? What are all those things? And that's what shapes the vision. Too often that word is daunting for people. So you got to just ask those little bitty questions of, what are the components of my life today? And what do I foresee that looking like 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, or if it's really hard, 1 or 2 years from now, and just like break that down into those pieces. The other thing that I find a lot of people struggle with is SMART goals. So most people have heard the acronym, right? Your goals need to be SMART, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound, and that's great. But usually some people struggle with at least one of those areas, one of those things. They're like, oh, I have the vision and this big grand thing, but I have a really hard time making it specific, what that next step is. Or I know what I'm after, I want to lose weight, but making it measurable is really hard for me because then there's a commitment level to it.
Yeah.
Or relevant, reading is a great thing. Is reading 32 books this year the best thing for you right now? Is it relevant to what hitting that vision is going to look like? Sure, that's a good thing and it's helpful. Do you have 4 little kids running around like around your ankles all day long? That's probably not the best goal for right now. So looking at those different pieces and saying, okay, which one do I struggle with the most, and how can I get some help around that? So with that, I kind of break these up a little bit. So when you're looking at specific, you have to ask yourself what, where, and why.
Right.
Know those details of what you're after. When somebody asks you what goal you're after, you need to be able to share that with them, the what, where, and why. When it's measurable, that's how will you know you're done? That's all there is to it. Just how will I know that I have achieved this thing? That's one of my biggest pet peeves with New Year's resolutions is they're often, I want to be more patient this year.
Mm.
How are you ever going to know that you've achieved that thing? So what's the measurement there? Achievable. This is that realistic piece. You mentioned that before, is it realistic, or is this pie in the sky thing? Like being a billionaire in 5 years and I'm making $2,000 a month right now. Hey, dream big, go for it. But what's your plan with it? Like if you've got a plan for it, I'm going to believe that with you. I'm going to cheer you on. But we do need to like bring it down. And what's the plan? Like bring it out of the sky, land that plane. So there's a fine line there between that impossible versus stretch goals. Let's see, I'll define it this way. Are you equipped to hit that impossible goal? If you, let's say, okay, so an 18-year-old, you've got to go through at least 8-10 years to be a doctor. That's what that process tends to be, at least here in the US. I've seen it, it's a journey. So for an 18-year-old to say, hey, I want to be a doctor in 2 years, like it's not going to happen. That's actually an impossible goal. Now the stretch goal might be, I want to do it in 8 years. And I've got the funds for it, and I know the school I'm going to go to, and I'm really good at studying and applying what I learn. Therefore, you're equipped for that. And it's a stretch goal because normally it takes 10 years.
Yeah.
They can, so there's a difference there. What are you equipped for in what you're reaching for? And so that's kind of how you define that achievable piece. Relevant, does it matter, and does it matter right now? So like I said, like that reading example, reading 32 books that are going to grow you that year, fantastic. That's a really good thing. Is it important right this minute? Determining what areas of your life. We have all these different arenas between business and our health and our relationships and our spirituality and our mentalities and all of those pieces. What are you going to focus on right now? They all need to keep moving forward. We need to focus on, we need to have intention with each one of them, but if you're focused on all of them, you're not focused on anything.
Yeah.
And then time bound. Time bound comes down to when and who are your questions there. When is this going to happen and who are you going to tell about it? Because that's where that accountability piece comes in. So you asked for a formula. So that's just one example of, something that I work with my clients on. How do we break down these SMART goals instead of making this big ambiguous thing that, end up being intimidating, or for someone who doesn't like to measure things, how can we make that a fun thing for you that you're moving towards your goal instead of it just being intimidating or frustrating?
Yeah, interesting. And I come across with recently, I used to set goals like how you mentioned, doing the exactly kind of things, and used to create a lot of pressure on myself. And because I get so much result oriented, and every time, even though I'm hitting 90% of the time, my goal, if I don't hit that 10%, I feel like the anxiousness and feeling like a failure, didn't hit the goal, even though there was stretch and there was like so much because I have achieved so many things. But tend to be last 3 months, I gone from the result oriented to process oriented. So I have some kind of vision where I'm heading to. There is a direction to it. Like how you put that direction, your zip code on the TomTom or SatNav, and like from New York to you heading to like a Washington probably. But that's your destination where you're gonna head to. But if forget about that, you don't see the actual destination. It doesn't show on your SatNav. The SatNav only shows your next steps, probably 100 years from now, 200 years from now. So you focus on the road and driving towards it. And obviously there's time bound there, but you don't know. The expected time, probably 4 hours or 5 hours, that drive could be, just giving an example. But it could be road collision, there is like a traffic, there is like roadworks going on. Probably you get there in 10 hours time or probably a bit earlier because the road is proper empty. So that's what I realized, like that actually great way to live on. So what I do right now, the last 3 months, I realized from the new year, this year I have like a where I had to like what's my revenue goal gonna be for business or my personal thing. Then it's just making a scratch, like I wrote it down, then I just remove it. Then I've gone through like all of them process to in order to get there, what process I need to be doing for the next whole year. And then I follow this. So if I follow this, I know I'm gonna make a success to it. And sometime like you have like your past experience or past track record, you can follow through, then you can see like what's the average look like when you actually follow them kind of steps. Is that something like you see like is it helpful, or like am I doing it wrong or right? I can take anyone's opinion. It's just I'm going through the process. So if you don't do it like yourself, then we don't know how we achieve it. So obviously I'm new to this. I'm doing like a 3 months now. I'm living like a pressure free. Before that, I'm constantly on myself. Even though the weekend comes in, I was like, I'm not hitting my goal. What I need to do, blah blah blah. So this month is like a failure. Some month I'm hitting my goal and more than exceeding it. I was like, I'm top of the world. Then the energy level fluctuate. So right now I feel like I'm same level. I need to do what I need to do on my process rather than the outcome I'm gonna achieve. So do you see this way, or like is there something I need to adjust?
Yeah, no, that's good. There's a quote I like, and it's you will not raise to the level of your goals, you will fall to the level of your systems or your
Yeah,
processes. So it's great to have those big lofty goals, but what are your steps to get there? And what are your processes? How much of a habitual person are you? Do you have good habits in place? So to speak to the anxiety in that's something I focus a lot on, is bringing the humanity into goal setting, because we set this goal and then if you don't hit it, you feel like a failure. That anxiety steps in. Oh my gosh, can I feed my family? What does that look like? Or am I just a loser? Am I a failure? Should I just give up on it altogether? And the thing is, we're not robots. Like,
yeah,
we're gonna mess up. Things are gonna happen. There's gonna be a car accident along the route, and it's okay. When we set out to pay off all our student loans, that $44,000, we said, all right, we're going to do this in 2 years. We needed to be done December 31st. I think it was 2015, 15 or 16. And you know what? We didn't hit it. It took us 2 more months. We didn't pay that off until mid-February of the next year. So did we fail? Are we losers?
No.
No, we still got completely out of debt.
Yeah.
We could have just said, screw it, like, we're done. That sucked. We didn't make it. Let's just go rack up more debt. No, we kept after it and we're completely debt free. But that's one of those things with goal setting is we don't give ourselves that kind of grace. We assume that we need to be this robot, and whatever we said we were going to do, we have to hit that deadline no matter what. And what I find is a lot of times people will set a goal. Let's say they set this great business goal this year. And 2 months into the year, they realize that a key relationship is falling apart. Maybe you didn't know your marriage was on the rocks and you're going, oh crap, you know what? You might need to change the goal. You might need to change the direction, even if it's just for a couple months, or it might be for that whole year. And you go, oh no, this area of my life is actually more important to me than what I thought I was going to be focusing on this year. And it's okay. It's okay to redirect. It's okay to go around the car accident, to find the other way. If it's going to take you longer, that's okay, because we're human and we need to adjust. What it's, again, going back to that vision. Are we shooting for what this overall vision, this picture of our life is going to be like? And that might be, for this year, it's a focus on your health, because you know what? You'll never be a billionaire if you're going to die because you don't get your health under control. Whatever that might be. So just to speak into that. And then as far as your process, I think it's good. So the idea is you want to backtrack from that vision. So if you've got that big picture now, okay, what can I do this year that's going to move me closer to that? What can I do this month that's going to move me closer to that? Now, what can I do this week? And what can I do today? And so that's the step, is just to back it on up from what that vision is. And that's why you've got to really be able to quantify that and go, who are those people in my life? Where do I live? What does it look like? Et
And
cetera, et
also
cetera.
focusing like what I can control rather than what's outside my control, because I cannot control like how much money I'm gonna make that year, because I can control like how many people I can talk to, how I can interact, how I'm gonna do the same way. Like I cannot control like how my body's gonna react like losing the weight I have, because
Yeah.
some days like your body tend to be store lots of water in there. So if you're trying to be on a scale like a 70 kg, but you might not there, you'll be like a 72, 71. But you can follow through the process. The 1600 calories you can intake every single day. That's your controllable. Like you can drink 2 liters of water daily, or like going for like half an hour exercise or walk or whatever the thing is. These things I can control, but I cannot control like how things going to be. And also like if I'm gonna get ill, how my metabolism or rate is look like so many factors in there. So same with everything in life. Like the outcome is not on our hand. We can have that great expectation, like by end of the year or 5 years time or 10 years time, you're gonna do that. Even though your case, like you're paying off the student loan, like you guys had the plan for 2 years. In the same time, there is no guarantee you're gonna get there in 2 years, because there could be like your health came along with it, right? And you probably lost your job or like the business, or like probably you have to be had like a breakup with your boyfriend or husband that time, and then like the goal would be like a different direction. So things you cannot change. The only thing you can do is like every single month, how much the process, probably going to pay off $1,000 or $2,000 on the side, or paying off small amount. That's the process. So by the time 24 months, probably going to get there, or probably 26 months or 30 months, but eventually you're going to get there. It's a matter of time. But if you follow the process, you're going to get there sooner or later, right?
Right. Right. And the big thing, I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was like 15 years old. And the biggest takeaway I had from that book was asking yourself how.
Yeah.
Not I can't, or like that book talked about, oh, we can't afford that. Well, how can you afford that? What do you need to do to afford that? Maybe, again, with the book, it was like, maybe you need to barter, maybe you need to start a business. What does that look like? So it's just asking yourself how.
Yeah.
So we got to December and we're like, okay, this isn't going to pay. This isn't going to happen. What do we need to do? How can we make this happen now? How do we need to adjust? And so just having that question, instead of, because what we tend to do is just beat ourselves up if it
Yeah.
doesn't happen. Oh, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I didn't do what I said I was going to do, these things got in my way. Or we'll take on those excuses. Well, all 17 of these bad things happened in my life this year, so I'm off the hook, like whatever. But then that also, we take no responsibility. So there is a fine line there too, of that balance. But to what you were saying, we can't control results.
No.
I work with a lot of salespeople, and if you are in sales and or like, you know, you're in your business, if we tie our self-worth to our results, that's when we have this roller coaster of emotions all the time. Sales
Yeah.
are up, I'm in a good mood. Sales are down, then I'm in a bad mood, and I'm grouchy and I'm a loser and all the things. We treat people poorly, and then people smell desperation too. And then you start getting desperate and sales go lower because you're not tying your self-worth and your identity to, am I doing the right things? Am I trusting the process and moving in the direction that I know is right and is going to work?
Mm.
So you can be the best salesperson in the world. People can still tell you no. You have no control over what those results are going to be.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way it is, isn't it? So Kylee, yeah, we're coming to the end of this podcast, so we can go on for like hours on that. So it's been a great pleasure having you. So those who's listening, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself or your business, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, KylieRobinson.com. So KYLEE Robinson.com, or on Instagram, it's Kylie_N_Robinson.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for your time today. I wish you best of luck with your business and your personal life, and I will hope you have a wonderful day ahead. Thanks for your coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No, pleasure was mine. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and learned from a few things. So you're probably going to implement your goal settings. So if you need more help, go visit Kaylee's website. You can reach out to her and have a chat with her. So until then, talk to you in the next episode. Take care.